Hi guys. I've been having a few thoughts recently about Heart Story and the direction I wanted to take going forward and stuff like that. It's something I'm always thinking about, and I kind of knew when I opened the shop, it's over 2 months ago now actually, I knew that it wasn't always going to have the kind of structure, format and kind of products and stuff that it does now. I knew it was going to change and evolve because I sort of forced myself to open it when I did, because I thought, because I have a problem with finishing projects, with getting things going, and I thought the best thing for me to start figuring out how I want to run Heart Story, what I want to do with Heart Story, was to actually do it and start offering tarot readings, and yeah, kind of get my hands dirty, so to speak. So I'm always thinking about how that's going and how I feel about it and what I actually want Heart Story to look like in the future. But very recently I feel like a couple of things have solidified for me a bit, and I thought I would just make a quick video, talk to you a little bit about the ideas that I've been having, and maybe ask you as well about your opinion, because at the end of the day I want to help you guys, particularly people who I have connected with so far. Especially here on YouTube. YouTube has been a fantastic means for me to connect to people, really on a really deep level, especially anybody who makes videos themselves. I've really been enjoying getting to know you and sharing ideas with you here on YouTube, and yeah, at the end of the day I just thought, well, why not get you guys a little on the conversation a little bit, and also I like to sort of think about my thoughts aloud or write them down as a means of solidifying what I'm thinking about. So as it currently stands, Heart Story is offering tarot readings online, and the way that works is that I write up the tarot reading in a Word document or a PDF document, and I send it off to you by email. And I do ask that people give me a certain amount of information when they purchase a reading from me, because the way that my tarot readings work, I don't consider myself to be a psychic or to be a fortune teller as such. For me, my tarot readings are all about connecting people to their heart story, connecting people to their deep selves, to their inner selves, to their intuition, helping them answer any problems that they're having, particularly helping them connect to their spiritual side, helping them grow their spirituality, their spiritual practice, that kind of thing, and also helping them develop their life and move their life in the direction they wanted to go in, by means of a spiritual practice or a spiritual connection, and integrating that spiritual connection in with their daily lives. And that's what I'm all about. So I definitely like to have as much information as I can about my client when they purchase a reading from me, and before I go ahead and do the reading for them. And that has worked for me very well so far. I was happy with that in the initial stages when I was starting to do readings for people online. I was happy with that model and it worked for me quite well. But I'm finding that as my tarot reading technique, or as my tarot reading for others and for myself actually, as it matures, I'm finding that it's becoming a lot more conversational or discursive in nature. And I'm particularly noticing this when I'm doing tarot readings for myself, because I have a bit more scope with how I go about doing it, and because I've set up the tarot readings on Heart Story in a particular way, I'm kind of continuing with that process. But when I'm doing tarot readings for myself, obviously there's an awful lot more scope for how I go about it, and I'm finding that it's quite kind of changing and morphing over time. And like I say, it's becoming more like a dialogue. When I started out reading for myself, I only read for myself for quite a long time. Well, not a long time, I mean, I know some of you have been reading tarot for 10 plus years. I'm a tarot baby, really. I've only been reading for a year and a half or so, but for the first at least 9 months anyway, I didn't read tarot for anybody else. I was just reading for myself, and that was kind of how I learned. But it was very much a situation where I would lay out the cards and then I would interpret the cards and start unpeeling what kind of messages this particular spread might have for me, And it was a very good way of learning the card meanings and learning how to use spreads and stuff like that. But as I go on, the more I find that actually I will draw some cards and I will look at them and I will start writing. But then I will start asking myself questions and asking the cards questions and start looking at the cards from different angles. And my initial interpretation of a card might actually change. I might look at a card and think, right, well, this is making me think of this. But after I've unpacked that a little bit through journaling, I start to think that actually maybe there's another direction that I could go in with this card, or with this grouping of cards, with this combination of cards. New ideas kind of spring to mind. Previously, I would have kind of thought, well, my initial feeling, my initial intuition on this is what I'm going to go with. But I've really been enjoying these days when I read for myself, kind of going with that, seeing where it goes, trying out different ideas, and really being open to the idea that there isn't any one answer. Because at the end of the day, for me, tarot is all about striking up a conversation with my inner self, striking up a conversation with my unconscious, rather than discovering some innate truth or innate, any sort of deep truth or immutable truth. For me, things aren't necessarily black and white. Nothing's set in stone. And messages that we receive from our intuition are not necessarily set in stone either. Just because it is your intuition speaking doesn't mean that necessarily the first thing that you get is necessarily true. And I completely respect people who go along, who follow that model and who use that as their means of doing tarot readings for others. But I'm starting to think that it's actually not the best way for me, and that striking up a dialogue and kind of meandering from that initial interpretation based on my emotional response to that interpretation and based on what comes up for me having made that interpretation is really interesting. And I'm really interested in developing this when doing tarot readings for others. Now, I have only done very limited tarot readings for others in person. There are only a few people in my life who I've only really told the people who are closest to me in my life about tarot, about my spirituality. It's really only a handful of people at this point who actually know anything about it. It's like, my boyfriend, my family, my closest friends. And there's really only a couple of them that I actually feel comfortable doing tarot readings for. And my boyfriend would be the primary person that I have actually done a few readings for, and that I would feel comfortable kind of experimenting on. So I haven't actually had a huge amount of opportunity to try out different techniques for tarot reading one-on-one, if you see what I mean. And doing so online, like doing readings for other people, has primarily happened for me online. But so far I've just been kind of scared of doing face-to-face readings or real-time readings for people online. It's something that I had just not had the confidence to do. And I can see that now. Initially I kind of thought, oh no, the kind of email readings just suit me better. I'm a writer at heart. This is just basically it was just what was comfortable for me. And now I'm starting to think that I overlooked something when I decided to do it that way. That I sort of was staying too much in my comfort zone. So I'm very seriously considering branching out and offering kind of one-on-one or face-to-face readings. And this might happen, say, on Skype or instant messaging or something like that. But I'm also considering the possibility that if people are themselves a bit shy about having a reading online via Skype or as a sort of live experience, I'm also considering the possibility of doing it via email, but drawing the experience out over the space of a couple of emails, so that I can engage the client in a conversation. And that might be the way that I start. Mostly just to give myself a bit of a kind of a buffer. Just to not freak myself out completely by throwing myself into doing live online readings. But I might do that initially as well. I might actually just completely dive in and go with doing both, or doing with doing a couple of different methods of a sort of more discursive reading, and see how that goes for me. I like the idea of doing the email readings, but it being a discussion, because it allows the other person a bit more time to think as well. It's a very different kind of idea really to just doing a live reading, where, you know, the reading might actually take place and unfold over the course of several days. Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work. What do you guys think? Does that sound kind of feasible to you? I definitely feel that it's feasible. I like the idea of it a lot. That I would sort of type up something initially, ask a lot of questions, get feedback, talk a bit more, and just generally that. I suppose that really what I'm moving more towards maybe is a sort of spiritual life coaching, but using tarot as a sort of, you know, as a springboard or as a tool to get the conversation going. I think that's kind of where I'm headed, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. I'm not going to jump into offering this as a purchase option on the shop just yet. What I'm considering actually is that I might offer sort of trial runs, you know, as a sort of starting off via the newsletter. I mean, I'm going to go away now and do some of this, do a lot more readings face to face in, you know, quote unquote real life. But yeah, as a sort of, to sort of get this off the ground, I'm considering, yeah, that I might offer you know, a significantly reduced price for newsletter subscribers, a couple of just, you know, offer a couple of readings and see how people respond to it or something. So yeah, I'd be very interested to know how you feel about that. I know there's a lot of life coaches out there and heart-centered life coaches out there, but I have always kind of felt that actually a sort of life coaching focused on spirituality and spiritual practice would be something that I'd be very, very interested in. I find that I do actually veer off talking about spiritual practice in and of itself quite a lot. Initially, when I was thinking about Heart Story and thinking about setting up some sort of business, I was thinking that I would only offer my services as somebody who advises on how to build a spiritual practice kind of from the ground up. And that is definitely still something that I'm working on and thinking about. It's definitely something I'm going to be writing ebooks on and maybe offering courses in the future. But I feel that as I make more videos, as I write more blogs and do more tarot readings, I'm realizing that for me, spirituality isn't really a separate component of my life. It's not separated from anything else in my life. It's just kind of an organic part of it. It's a way of being. It's a way of living for me. And it kind of has made its way into every aspect of my life. It influences every aspect of my life. And that is how I want it to be. It's sort of an expression of my experience of life. And kind of a means of maybe getting a bit more control over my life, not, maybe control isn't the right word, but yeah, and a means of really potent creative expression as well. And yeah, I'm starting to realise that the connection between life coaching and helping people develop a spiritual practice might actually be quite blurred for me, and that might be that if I do go down the line of offering some form of coaching or guidance, that it might be quite fluid, and that I would be, maybe that I don't necessarily want to shut myself off from helping people with general life issues, but I will always be approaching that from a point of view of having a spiritual practice and being spiritually centered. You can expect from me that if you're not, anybody who has come to me so far for readings and stuff online has been spiritually centered, had a spiritual practice, because that's where the majority of my readership and my YouTube followers have come from, because most of you are from the pagan community. I get some people just stumbling on my blog who are only at the kind of onset of developing their spiritual practice, and I hope that will happen more and more. But I will warn you that if you don't have a spiritual practice, and that if you do purchase a reading from me or in some way way seek advice or guidance from me, I will definitely be not bullying you or coercing you, but giving you a firm shove in the direction of a spiritual practice, because I feel like it's something that anybody can benefit from, even if you don't think that you're religious or spiritual. I think it's something that everybody needs and can benefit from in some form. You know, not everybody is going to want the same level of ritual or whatever as some other people are. You know, we're all different and we all have our own ways of expressing our spiritual connection with life, with the universe and everything. So yeah, those are some of my ramblings. You can expect to hear more from me on this in the near future. But I just had that realization today. I've been realizing really strongly that I am actually terrified of failure, that I have not allowed myself to fail enough in life, and that is hugely restricting to me, and that I really need to move away from that. So that's kind of what's spurring me to say, well, you know, to hell with it. I'm scared of offering live readings, but there's no reason for me to be scared of it, you know what I mean? I'm only holding on to a sort of a limiting belief or a limiting kind of mindset in not allowing myself to offer that to people and to see how that goes. So yeah, I'm going to be thinking about what the best way will be to sort of feel that out and maybe integrate that into Heart Story. And yeah, if anyone has any suggestions or any thoughts on that, that would be very, very welcome. If that's something that you would be interested in, let me know. Or if you think, no, I much prefer the idea of just getting a Word document typed up, a tarot reading, let me know too. But honestly, I don't see myself doing that full time, or I mean, forever. That's what I'm trying to say. And honestly, I think now I realise that I always knew that I wasn't going to do it that way forever. So I'm not exactly sure why I started doing it that way. But it's been an amazing learning experience so far. I'm definitely not going to stop giving readings like that anytime soon, because I do really enjoy it. But I've just been feeling kind of restricted by it, you know? You know when you're doing something and you're like, yes, this is working, it's clicking, I'm enjoying it, I'm getting good feedback, it's coming from heart level, it's feeding me in some way, but there's something missing, there's something not quite clicking. And I think I'm starting to figure out what that is and why that is. And I think it's time to let my natural tarot reading inclinations to make themselves known, and I think it's time for me to share them with others and not just keep it all to myself. I need to let my tarot practice and my tarot reading, I need to let it evolve.